start from my observation about many Android projects. Unfortunately, at the beginning, Google didn't provide any tips or solution for clean way of Android architecture. Probably many of you, if you developers, know the problem with each component. If we talk about Android, it's activity, fragments, widget, or something like this. It means that it's not really hard, not really easy to maintain and support these components. In time, probably will be hard to add really simple feature because your main component is huge, and of course it's really hard to test. Probably it's one of the reasons because many applications nowadays are tested in manual way. Of course, it's not just one reason, but this is probably. Fortunately, we have some solution. First of all, it's architectural pattern. This means that a really good idea separate your source code for different layers. We can use one of many approaches. And when we talk about automated test, probably really near thing is test coverage and continuous integration system. When we talk about test coverage helps you understand where your code are untested, and continuous integration about automatically run all your tests after any modification or changes. For demonstration purpose, I created simple application which show you a process of ordering some coffee. And this application has three main screens. First screen with a list of coffee and total price for each coffee. Additional screen adds screen about each coffee. And last screen is detailed information about your order, and if you click to apply button, you get notification about that you finished ordering process, and if you click to this notification, you can see all information about your order. First thing about testing, it's probably two most popular approaches for testing. It's unit testing and UI testing. When you talk about unit testing, the most popular framework when we talk about Java and Android is JUnit. It's really good framework, but unfortunately really hard to test your application use just this framework, because when we talk about Java, all components depend on other components. And for it, better way, of course, use mock framework like Makita, Power Makita, Gmock, EasyMock, etc. When we talk about UI test, probably two most popular framework is Espresso and UI. A really interesting idea that these two frameworks use different approach, because UI is test frameworks which use local unit test, and Espresso use instrumentation test. Of course, when we talk about Revolution, test created use this framework faster, but unfortunately you can use just one image for testing. When we talk about Espresso, and you can run all your tests on different devices with different version of operation system, and really good solution if you have some Android farm with different devices, and you can run the same test in different devices. Because, for example, many companies like Samsung, HTC, Sony, etc. Sometimes add some solution to the core of Android, and your application can run good in one device, it's not so good in other device. First thing is base structure of Android project. Base folder is src, after it we have three additional folders, main, test, and Android test. When we talk about main, it's folder for source code, test for unit test, and Android test for instrumentation test. We have different categories of Android test. It's a local test and instrumentation test. When we talk about local test, it means that all your tests run on local JVM. And when we talk about instrumentation test, this type of test require Android device or emulator. Local test faster than instrumentation test as minimum, because we skip a step of install our application to real device and install a test application for real device. Okay, when we talk about local test, you can run your test use Android Studio or other IDE, as example IntelliJ IDE, Eclipse, or something like this. Also, you can run your test using Gradle. Google strongly recommend use Gradle as your build system for your project. Gradle allows you to do many things like easy integration, many popular libraries, creating additional tasks for generation Java doc. As example, publish a new version of your library or application. For running a local test, you have command Gradle test, and after finishing, you can find your result in build reports test folder. You also can create a configuration for running test. Use Android Studio or other IDE. Situation with Android Studio for instrumentation test, the same. But when we talk about Gradle, we have two commands. This command do the same things. First of all, it's Gradle connected Android test, and second, CAT abbreviation. These two commands do the same. First tool when we talk about UI test for Android, it's UI Automator, UI Automator Viewer. This tool allows us get information about any view in any application. We can run this tool as separate application, or we can run this tool as part of Android device monitor. As you can see, you can get information about any view. You can find any view use, as example, text, resource, package, type of component, and other things. And so we start talking about Espresso. This is framework for UI testing, one of the most popular nowadays, and a really good idea that this framework part of Android testing support library. It means that this framework really easy integrate to any Android project. If you use Android Studio or IntelliJ IDE, it's really easy. But if you use Eclipse, it's a problem. And other really good thing is that Espresso test created with Espresso, you can run not only modern device. Minimum version of SDK is Android 2.2. We have many Android frameworks, and why do we use Espresso? First of all, a test created with this framework really readable and extendable, because fortunately Espresso have just few basic components. Of course, as we talked before, it's a part of Android testing support library. It means that it's really easy to integrate to your project. And this framework has something like smart waiting. It means that you can avoid using sleep in your test code. For start using this framework, first of all, need to install or update Android support library and Android support repository. You can do it from terminal or Android SDK manager. Next step is integrate Espresso to the project. First of all, we must set up a test instrumentation runner, and its dependencies for Espresso. Espresso separates for many libraries, and minimum set of dependencies is Espresso core and runner. Welcome. First of all, you need to prepare your device or emulator for working with Espresso test. And really good idea, turn off scale animation, because it can be not so good for Espresso test and with UI Automator. You can do it from developer options, from settings maybe. And right now we start talking about base methods of Espresso. Fortunately, Espresso has just two base methods. It's onView and onData. The onData method we use for adapter views. For adapter views, when we talk about adapter views, I mean it will be list views, spinner, grid view, and it's most popular. And almost all components really accept adapter views. Really good work with onView method. This method has different components: view measure, view action, and view assertion. When we talk about view measure, it means that we can find any view on the screen of our device, use text, ID, description, or something like this. In this case, we use ID. This ID you can get from source code or use for getting information about it, UI Automator viewer. Next part is view action. Espresso supports many different actions. As example, it can be simply, it can be longly, it can be different swipe. Of course, you can create your own actions for your requirements. And last component which we can use with Espresso is view assertion. View assertion allows us verify properties of view. It can be different states. Example, enable, displayed. We can verify some text in this component or something like this. And you must understand that this code will be always correct, but this code do nothing totally, because this method can return null or some object, but it will be not a fail. As example, if this method return null and you try to do some actions or verify something, you get exception. But if you finish on this, just on view, this test verify nothing, and you always must add some action or some verification for the view.
But when the page doesn't contain ID test,
yeah,
this code will also pass?
Yes. Yes. The same. As example, the same situation in any language. As example, when we talk about Java, we can create some object. As example, integer. We can create, as example, something, and as example, it can be null, and it's okay. The same story is this. But when we try to do some actions, as example, compare here, you get an error because it's a null object, and on view can return null or some object. And you always must use do some actions on verify something. And really famous Java library for testing is hamcrest. Hamcrest is a really popular library which allows you much different objects. As example, use this library. You can search view, as example, if you know just a part of text in the string. Because when we talk about string, we have read and end with. And as example, if we avoid hamcrest library, we must know, as example, all string. But when we use this library, we can create really powerful expressions for our test. And here, really simple test. And we use onView method in first time for do click for plus button, and after it we use the same method for verification that as example on screen number 3 is updated. As you can see, we first of all we find view use ID of this view, and after it we use click and verify text of some view. To my point of view, it's really simple. But first of all, we must always express a test, express a suite. We must start from setup runner. In this case, it's Android Unit 4. Other mandatory thing is a rule. A rule contains information about tested activity. And we use Unit 4, and we must use test annotation for each test. Probably one of most popular components for displaying text is snack bar. Fortunately, Espresso supports this view as any other view. And as example, when we use a snack bar from support libraries, you can get information use ID. As example, Android support design and ID of component. And we can verify, as example, which text displayed. We know which text we want, and we verify. And I think most popular component for displaying test is toast. Really basic component. Here we find view use text which we waiting, which we expected, and after it we check that this text and this text is displayed. But main part, main thing in this example, it's in root, and we use is root measure. Because toast display method as the root component of application. And this example, if we delete line in root, it means that if as example we will see toast and we will see text view with the same text, this measure can return can finish and everything will be okay. But it will check text view, as example text view or toast. When we talk about isRoot, it's a custom measure. Custom measure must implement two methods. Describe two. This method called when you have fail as a result of our test, and this method help us get information why we get this fail. It's configurable. You can configure and display all information what you want. But when we talk about match safely method, match our component what we want, and in this case the main idea is that we compare Windows token and application token. It means that Windows must belong to application. And before it, we verify that our Windows token or Windows layout contain toast. If our root component contains toast and Windows belong to our application, it means that and as example here text displayed, it means that it's our root. this get from our root. And probably most popular action from user is enter some data, enter some text. First of all, we must use type text method for emulate enter some text, entering some text. And we can use additional action which called a close soft keyboard. As you probably understand, this action hide keyboard. And after it, of course, better way verifies that this text was entered. And right now we move to adapter view because adapter view, the most popular object which support adapter view is linear list view, grid view, and spinner. The main reason because this component have some data. You can set it use as example array adapter or any other adapter. And the main thing is that this component don't display on the screen all items. And for it, we must ask adapter about this data. For it, we use onData method. This method almost the same as onView method. And we start from a really simple example. We use array adapter. This array adapter have method get item, and this item returns return string value. And in onData method we verify that yes, this method returns string, and this string is Americana as in this example. And because when we finish here this onData and we finish after Americana, we doesn't verify anything. And for it we must display as example check part. You can add perform. Perform and as example click to this item if you want. As example, you can use at the same method as example onData check, and after check we can add perform and click, and it's possible. And right now more hardware, but
more the guy who left must regret now.
But right now more harder and more useful example. As example, we have some adapter, and this adapter have method get item. This item return data of required type for us. In this case, this method return object of coffee type. It's a really basic class. And for verification, we use this coffee adapter. Of course, it's custom adapter. We also tell this method in which list we can use it. And when we look Espresso object, it will be simple item of list view. We click to this item. And right now, a few words about this measure. We have different type of measures, and in this case, it's bounded measure. The main idea of bounded measure is that we must have subtype. In this case, subtype is a coffee. The same method, description current value, and match safely for match result. As example, if we can use as example preference measure, we can use root measure, view measures for different type of object. Of course, if we talk about layout, we must verify some layout history. And most popular nowadays object for displaying a huge set of data is recycler. And as you can see here, a recycle view is not an adapter view. It means that for it we must use onView method. Fortunately, Espresso provides additional actions for using with recycler view. For it, we must add additional dependency, add additional library, which called Espresso contribute. But if you use Gradle, better way exclude dependencies for support libraries for avoid version conflict and conflict during building. As example, here you can see that we have action on item 8 position. First parameter is position, second is action. Fortunately, we have just few actions, but some of these actions have position, other action has matches, and it means that just six basic actions with your custom or default matcher allows you to do anything. Right now we move for how we can configure custom intent, because of course we can start application from main list, after we move to other activity, then to another activity. But better way configure just intent. For it we must first way is update rule annotation, because rule annotation mandatory. As example, if we can override get activity intent. When we do it, it means that we can create intent, we can configure intent, and after it, when you implement your intent, you can put some data to your intent. As example, during testing will be opened required activity for you. As example, not first activity in your project, but as example detailed activity as in this example. But this case is not really good, because when you use it, it means that all your tests in the suite will use this overridden intent, and it's not really good solution, because in different tests probably you want to verify different part of your code, different intents, different parameters from intent. And for it, we can use a second way. It means that we must create intent and launch activity inside each test. But for it, first of all, we must update rule and set to false our last parameter. It means that this activity doesn't launch in rule method. As you can see, first of all, we create if you require context, but you require for intent, and after it we can put some parameter to your intent. And last major thing is that you must use launch activity and pass your intent, pass your configured intent. And probably one of hardest thing from base part of Espresso is item resources. It means that, as example, you have some service. This service gets some data from the internet, and after it you start do something. As example, first of all you want to get some data, and after it displays this data in your application. For it we can use item resources. Item resource, first of all, wait. As example, sometime. Of course, you must register and unregister this resource in your test suite or in your test. And idle resource must contain three methods. Get name is idle now, and register idle transaction callback. When we talk about get name, this method returns string value, which identify idle resource. When we talk about is idle now, this method contains state of this idle resource, and register idle transaction callback store state of idle resource and notify other components. This method, as example, can notify your test that some task finished, and you can run your code. If you use the same resource for all tests in your test suite, you can register this resource in method use before annotation. It means that you will register this idle resource before each test. And when we talk about method with after annotation, where we unregister our resource, it means that after each test, resource will be unregistered. But of course, you can do the same thing. I mean, register and unregister inside your test. If not all your tests require this resource. And as example, other basic test. It's this test verify detail activity. This test verify toolbar title. In this case, it's Espresso, and we have recycler view. And if it's detail activity, you always know information which you store in each item. As example, when we open any coffee from this application, first of all will be ingredients. After it will be price. For it, as example, for verification toolbar, we use custom matcher toolbar title, really simple matcher, and for verification ingredients, we use add position. It's also custom matcher. And the main idea of this custom matcher, because this custom matcher verify not just information here, and also verify the title of this item. Title of first item is ingredient, and description of this item contain description about ingredients of the coffee. The same story here, price and current price. The same story. It's almost yeah.
Custom matcher is that you wrote this.
Yeah. And at the end, I talk why it's better idea. It's really simple. We describe a situation during some error, and in Mage safely we compare to object. So right now we move to other framework also provided by Google. It's UI Automator framework. And it's also a really good framework because express a really good work with view inside your application. But as example, during the last Google I/O, Google talked about new mechanism which called Android Instance Hub, and it means that you can get some link from your messenger, as example, and open some application, part of some application. But as example, if we have some application which you can run from your messenger app use link, it's impossible test click to this item because it's other application, and for it we can use UI Automator. UI Automator really cool framework when we're talking about working with system stuff. As example, with permission, because when you see dialog with permission, it's not application dialog, it's system dialog. Sometimes you want to verify notification after click to some button or something like this. And for it, really good idea, use UI Automator. It's also part of Android testing support library. You can use this framework, interact with any application, and you can interact with system. But unfortunately, this framework requires IP18. And it's a problem because not all project has minimum version of IP18. But first of all, I talk about benefits. It's easy to set up because it's part of Android support testing library. It's readable test. It's really easy. And access to device state. You can use this framework to screenshot, open notification area, click to system button like home, back, power, etc. The same step as when we're talking about Espresso. You must install or update Android support library or Android support repository. You can do it from Android SDK Manager or from terminal. The same story about integration. We must set up instrumentation runner if we haven't it in our parameter, and a dependency for UI Automator. It's really simple. And how we can solve problem when we talk about minimum version of API, because it's higher version when we talk about nowadays. Not all project and not all application have minimum version of 18 or higher. First case, you can create a manifest file and overwrite minimum version of API. You must create this Android manifest file inside Android folder. But it's not really good solution, because it means that all your tests in this folder will run on device with a minimum version of SDK 18. But as example, if almost all your tests use Espresso, and minimum version of Espresso is Android 2.2, and when you add these files, all your tests will require a device with IP18. Other, and to my point of view, better solution is annotation. We can use SDK suppress annotation for test suite. It means that, as example, we have 5 classes with Espresso test and just one class with test with UI Automator. And all your Espresso test will run on any devices, on, as example, not only devices where IP higher than 18 or 18, but just one test unit will require a device with higher IP. Next, and base component. As example, we can start from UI collection. UI collection use Android UI Automator. If some application have some list, and UI collection can return you a list of objects, but main object of some icon will be frame layout. Inside this frame layout, you can have, as example, linear layout. This linear layout can have, I don't know, buttons, text view, or something like this. And use UI Automator for working with list, terrible. Next component, UI object and UI object 2. We have two different components because we have two versions of framework, UI Automator first and second. This component allows you to do some action with this component. A UI scrollable component allows you to scroll, as example, application list. You can open menu and you will have all applications. And this component allows you to scroll in different ways. UI selector helps you find any view. Use text, ID, a description, content description, package, and something like this. And configurator allows you configure some timeout and other stuff for your test. And probably class with a really big number of features is UI device. This class allows you press two different system buttons, as example, home, power, back, etc. Click to arbitrary coordinates. To my point of view, it's a terrible way, but you can. You can open notification. You can take screenshot and store the screenshot on your device. As example here, we test external, not our application, it's calculator application. First of all, we press all button. It means that we return to our main screen. After it, we click to button with all application. After it, we search calculator application, click to this application. After it, we verify 3 seconds for rendering and other stuff. Of course, if it will be after 2 seconds, we start to other thing. After it, we must create object for all our sequence of actions. As example, it will be 2, 3, plus and equals. After it, we create sequence of actions. We emulate user behavior. First of all, we click to 2 button, after it plus, 3 and equals. And finally we use ID. Finally, we use ID for getting result. And after it, we use simple assert equals for verifying it. It's simple unit assert. And I show you how it works. Because it's a communication test, and this test requires device, and all actions you can see on your screen. Probably too fast, but as you can see, it's working. Fortunately, we can combine Espresso and UI Automator. And as example, we can order after it I will run all tests. As example, you initialize some intent with information, and after it you click to pay button. Before it we use Espresso because it's basic Espresso command. After it, we start using UI Automator for, as example, access to notifications. So we wait for rendering and time for which system spend for sending notification from application and display notification on the screen. And after it, we use Android Automator viewer. Know that our notification has text like this. It's variable, which created inside the text. After it, we verify it. As example, last step, we click to this notification, and we continue use Espresso for verify our screen. As example, our order item, some field, and something like this. And at the end, few basic tips for testing Android and not only Android application. First of all, do not copy code between your tests. As example, use Espresso. You can create expressions, and if you copy the same expression which works, too many tests, and in one day you displayed more information about some commodity, service, application, etc. It means that you must update this expression in a really big number of tests. But if you have, as example, one custom matcher, you can update just this matcher, and all your tests will work correctly. Second tips, and you must spend some time for learn about all available stuff. As example, all base matcher, all actions. Of course, you can create your own actions matcher or something like this. But if this stuff was created, it means that we have probably one or many team who support Espresso. And if you create something, you must fix some problem, probably. Use hamcrest library. it's really good. It's really good idea when you create, as example, your own measure, or you create some expressions, because it's really powerful. It's really powerful library, and it's really easy library. Of course, you can use UI application where some button displayed or any view displayed. You can create for focusing on pixel perfectness, but it's not really good idea. Base idea of UI testing and emulate user behavior. And you must focus on your features, not for some displaying, because as example, testing third-party library use unit testing or UI testing or integration testing. It's not really good idea because this library probably tested. And to my point of view, many small tests better than big one. Because if you have many small tests and in one day something changes in your, as example, on your screen or something like this, and if you have many small tests, it means that you update just one or two tests, and other tests will work. But if you have a big one test, probably you must update this test in many places, and of course you spend for it more time. Launch directly desired screen. Of course, you can use Espresso and UI Automator, probably other framework. You can open base activity after it moves to required activity. But first of all, framework can have some problem with navigation. And if you want test navigation, it's not a problem. But if you want test view, test screen, test view on your screen, better way start from desired screen. As minimum, your test will be faster and verify what you want. Few links. It's Google sample about Android architecture. It's repository on GitHub, which Google provided a few months ago. Documentation about Espresso, testing UI for multiple apps. It's overview from developerandroid.com about UI Automator and Espresso. Simple coffee order test project. It's my project. This test, this project available on GitHub. This project will be extended. I plan and support, as example, Dagger and improve performance of test. And introduction to Android testing is part of my blog where I create an article about testing. As example, here in this page you can find my article about unit testing, about JUnit, Makito, Roboelectric, Espresso. I plan an article about UI Automator, how to combine these two frameworks for UI testing, etc. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
You say that the UI collection makes our life more painful.
Yeah.
Do we have something else for?
Use Espresso. Because really good idea that we can combine these frameworks. It's not means that okay, I won't use Espresso. It means that I cannot use access to notification. I cannot power button or something like this. It means that we can combine, and of course better way if some framework better for working inside application, you must use it inside application. If other framework better for do some system stuff, of course better way. Because I tried to use UI Automator. I know that it's terrible, but I have more time, and it's possible, but it's terrible.
But also I saw that finding calculator in the list of the applications was very easy in one line.
Yes. but it's really easy. But as example, when we talk about UI Automator, because it's part of application and really and support of a list of application really good. But when we talk about some custom view and some custom list, it's not so good. Of course, you can try, but yeah.
I have a question about Robotium. Do you still use it, or is it you don't use it because it's a third-party solution, or maybe it's not trendy enough? Trendy still, or is it old or obsolete?
To my point of view, if we talk about Robotium, it's not really good. To my point of view, Espresso better and more stable. And as example, use Robotium, we must use sleep method. And you know, sleep method is something like probably 5 seconds, but probably not 5. And you know, it's for me, of course, better way is idle resource, and it's something like smart waiting. Okay, some task finished, and I start check something. To my point of view, two really good framework for UI testing. It's Robolectron and Espresso. As example, when you create some project with some custom view, and of course you use for it a plugin, a Gradle plugin which called Android libraries. And when you use Android libraries, you can't create UI test in this project. You can create just unit test. And of course, in this case, better way use Robolectron, because Robolectron allows you to do this.
Another question. Can you connect Espresso with Calabash or some kind of framework for behavior-driven testing?
I never did it.
I can answer. You can do it. You can do it.
But exactly with Calabash or?
No, with Cucumber.
You can have Calabash running Cucumber steps implemented in Espresso.
Thank you.
But it's not straightforward.
Yeah.
I have actually 3 questions. First one, you used wait function and you defined some time of like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And how this wait exactly works? It checks every, for example,
Okay, it's 3 seconds, it's not a sleep, it's not something like sleep, it's something like timeout. We have a loop, and this loop verify, as example, probably each 60 millisecond state, and if we finish some task, we finish operation system, finish renders stuff for 2 seconds, not 3 but 2, it's finished and we start doing other things.
Okay. Another question. You talked about it's not good to test UI, but let's say we have application that we want to test on multiple devices and check if every text and every single sentence in every language fits exactly to text view. Is it possible to create some kind of custom matcher that allows us to check if text is fully displayed on the device?
Yes, we can use as example simple matcher, a base matcher from Espresso, and pass all your tests, all your huge story about something probably, and Espresso verify it. This because when we talk about view like list view or spinner, not all child of list view or other adapter view you can find on view hierarchy. But when we talk about text, view, text view has this component has access to all text. As example, if you have just part of text on the screen right now, I mean you can have scroll or something like this. Text view, as example, have access to whole text, and for Espresso it's not a problem tested.
Okay. And last question, you were using UI Automator, and I saw that you provide some custom ID for input formula. How you managed to get this ID, and is it any easy way to obtain IDs like this in application that we haven't, for which we haven't source code?
Okay, I can show you. As this example, we can open Android device monitor. And here, as example, I can run as example some application.
Yeah.
Here, oh, it's not really good, but it's right. And here, as example, sorry, but right. Example, we click to emulator and get layout. What we can see at the screen, it's UI Automator viewer, and as example, we choose this component, and we know that. And as example, we know that content description of this content like this, and ID like this.
Okay.
And really good idea that this tool allows you to get information about any view of any application. And of course, if you have some code, probably, as example for me, simpler way find ID in my code. But when we talk about UI Automator and we talk as example, the same story with notification. I see notification and I can verify as example text or ID of notification. And it's okay. And as example, probably this text will be. And as example, all test for this application. For application with coffee order, and really good idea that you can see all action on your device later. As example, the same as user behavior but faster. As you can see, first of all, we haven't nothing because I created a service which delays for a second and after it sends some data. It's something like getting data from internet. And for this waiting, I use idle resource. And it's avoid because if we know that in 3 seconds we get some resources, we can use sleep. But when we talk about internet, first of all we must know which connection we have. And other many things. And to my point of view, Espresso with idle resources is better for things like this. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Is hamcrest matchers compatible with Espresso matchers?
Yeah. And as example, I can show you some matcher. As example here, we use mature string, and this mature string is from hamcrest library. Because I could write something. I don't know. As example, when we have some data and we use, if we use this mature and we use this text, and here we can, if we use not this, but when we use hamcrest mature, we can create something like this. Is and this text. But we have additional options, like example.
Można by było jakieś światło zapalić, bo tutaj słabo widać.
As example, we can use start with or end with as example. We can use, and this mature also fine for us. And it means that our expressions mature or something like this are more powerful when we use hamcrest. Of course, we can use simple Java type. It's not a problem. But to my point of view, better we use mature because it's more powerful for us.
Have you used recent Google product to record Espresso test?
Not yet. First of all, right now it's not. It's in beta, and I tried, but
Is it useful?
sometimes yes, and of course it's easy. But first of all, you must understand Espresso framework, because if you use just recording, it's not really a good idea. Because probably, I think that we will have some problem. We haven't any problem with really simple application. But if we have complex application, I think we will have some problem with it. And as I know, if you create, I don't know why, but this recorder, if you create some test, you can create one test in one class. I don't know why, because seriously, for big project you have 500 tests and create 500 class. It's not really a good idea. And for really simple things, yeah, it's really good because it's faster. Because in many cases you do a sequence of simple actions, click, swipe, or something like this. And of course, better do it in few clicks. But when we talk about more complex application, I think it will be not so easy. I think you will record some part, and after it you must update it in some way. But probably for basic test, better way will be used in future, maybe in half a year, recorder. But finally, better way will be do something like create custom mature if you use, as example, the same item in many screens. As example, when we talk about Twitter or something like this application, because we will store some expression in each test, and it's not really a good solution.
Yeah, but I don't know this tool, but maybe it would be good to record test and move this part to my own test and use this, and then we don't have to use this boring stuff like with text and writing these IDs, finding these IDs, and so on.
Yes, to my point of view, yes, for really simple things, for clicking, and it will be better. But I think if you use mainly the same stuff in different screen, better way create some additional stuff for this and update your test, and it will be better. Because if you in one day update your application, you will have many problems with your test, and you must rewrite all your tests, and probably it's not really a good idea. Yeah.
Why you think, well, maybe you don't agree, but UI Automator is not very popular. Why do you think?
Probably main idea is IP18. Probably it's one idea. But you know, when we talk about application, as example, you can have many Espresso tests and one test for verification. You know, something like notification or something like this. And of course, Espresso more popular because when we talk about any application, almost always we test application inside, and you know, 1 or max 10% it's application outside of test outside of our application.
Any more questions? Who has the list? Okay. Any more questions? Okay.